What's happening? What's up, guys? Okay, so just a couple minutes ago, here's some actual footage from outside my window. Just your regular day, and then it started pouring like crazy. It was raining. It was raining, and I noticed this because it was daytime. It was daytime, and it got full on nighttime level dark. It was just pitch black. I had to turn all my lights on. I was like, what's going on? What is the deal? And I guess it's like a lot of things we talk about on this channel. I mean, it's just rain. Rains all the time. Raining is something that happens. But what is it about the time we're living in? There's like a deep mistrust that I have for everything that's happening, especially the weather. It's been a really weird month for weather. Doesn't really, it's like summertime now, right? Isn't it? Or spring at least. I don't know. I thought it was weird.
Alright, what's up?
So what's happening?
No, not much. Just being here.
Just being here. Yeah, it's always good to get on the stream, even when I'm streaming in the middle of the night when most of you American types are either asleep or just getting up or who knows when. I guess I'll just call it depression, call it fear, call it anxiety, whatever you want to call it. I was definitely streaming out a lot of those sort of emotions on my last stream, and yeah, I guess it's a scary world out there, especially here on the internet. It's hard to know what the right move is. But I wanna, you know, just allay your fears, have you rest calmly, whatever you want to call it. I'm never gonna stop. I'm never gonna stop doing this. I find this too amusing. Having a talk show, being able to play some keys for you, you know, I enjoy that, and especially the community aspect of it. Having that interaction from you guys means a lot. It really does. And every time I seem to get down, think about just quitting everything. A lot of stuff I'm doing in reality that I'm generally not talking to you guys about, but I consider quitting that stuff as well. But it always comes back to, no, you can't just give up. You gotta have your voice. You gotta get yourself out there. And I would encourage you too, if you're listening and thinking about maybe putting your voice out there, don't hesitate, you know. Just go do it. Do your thing. Do your thing. I guess my main consideration these days is, with this community being so targeted, so suppressed, so aggressively downvoted, I think I'm trying to think of a way of mainstreamifying this whole concept, you know what I mean? Not completely defanging it, but somehow giving it a reskin, giving it a full fresh coat of paint, so I can continue to talk about weird stuff, my thoughts and premonitions about our reality, but somehow do it in a way that, well, basically slips by the censors and is also able to slip by those people. We all know those people in our lives that are just extremely averse to anything conspiratorial, anything outside of the realm of their own perception. That's I think my great goal, my great desire here is to develop something where you can give people the truth without them realizing that it's the truth. And this is no easy task. I won't deny it. I think it's going to take years to figure out exactly how to do that. But giving up, it really isn't even on the table. It's not possible. It's not possible, at least for me. So just wanted to put that out there. But let's get into the news. I do have some articles here I wanted to share with you guys, right? All right. Half the Earth relatively intact from global human influence. Now, this is let's check this out. Where's my full internet page? There we go. Half the Earth relatively intact from global human influence. Now, I personally am a little confused by this because, right, I thought we were wrecking the planet. I thought everything was our fault and that we were totally just pulling this thing off the rails, just one cheeseburger, one Coca-Cola at a time, just completely ravaging this planet. And there's obviously a lot of news still about that type of thing, but this I found very interesting. And this is science. This is on phys.org. This is actual science. Although when it comes to this climate stuff, it really is hard to know. Do we trust any of these people? Roughly half of Earth's ice-free land remains without significant human influence, according to a study from a team of international researchers led by UC Davis. Interesting study published in Global Change Biology compared 4 recent global maps of the conversion of natural lands to anthropogenic land uses to reach its conclusions. The more impacted half of Earth's land includes cities, croplands, and places intensely ranched or mined. The encouraging takeaway from this study is that if we act quickly and decisively, right, it's still bad. If we act quickly and decisively, there is a slim window in which we can still conserve roughly half of Earth's land in a relatively intact state, said the lead author, whoever that guy is. The study published June 5th on World Environment Day aims to inform the upcoming Global Convention on Biological Diversity, the conference, and that is important to understand about all of this scientific research and publications, all of that kind of stuff, right? They generally don't do studies in a vacuum, just thinking, well, I want to study this. I think this is a good study to do. No, it's usually with some sort of end goal in mind, right? So if you're going to be presenting this information at World Environment Day, well, I mean, how edgy can you actually be, right? There is a very powerful consensus when it comes to all of this kind of environment stuff, right? And if you are not with the party line, if you're not saying the right things in the right way, then, well, they're not gonna take you along for the ride. And I guess that's what I was talking about before. How can you publish something like this that seems to fly in the face of everything else that's going? Well, I guess it really depends on the tone that you have, and maybe that's my challenge for the future, to make my tone a little more mainstream and not so I guess accusatory, because we know these guys they have an agenda. It says it right here in paragraph 4 or whatever, right? This published for this thing aims to be in this convention about biological diversity, I guess, to give some people some hope. But with all of this climate stuff, with all of this environment stuff, it always is a call to action. And we're seeing that across the board. It really doesn't matter what the issue is. Not that you specifically are supposed to jump into action here and I guess protect the unhumanified parts of your local district. I think somebody else, some government agency is going to be in charge of all of that. But right, there's still this sense of impending doom, this idea that we gotta fix this right now. But at the same time, right, we have been trying to fix the planet, thinking about environmentalism for quite some time. I would say, at least 30, 40 years at this point. And sure, there's been a lot more development and developing of the world and all that kind of stuff. But it's interesting to me to think that only half of this world is developed and has been, sort of messed with by humans. And there's a whole other 50% out there that is totally, totally fine that we haven't messed with yet. And I guess they break this all down into things, and it's interesting to see our good old favorite disease, everybody's favorite disease, showing up in an article that doesn't really seem to be about that at all. Let's read this real quick. The coronavirus pandemic is now shaking the globe. Illustrates the importance of maintaining natural lands to separate animal and human activity. Separate. We are not animals. We are humans. The leading scientific evidence points to the likelihood that SARS-CoV-2, the virus that caused the disease, is a zoonotic virus that jumped from animals to humans. Ebola, bird flu, SARS, blah, 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 that whole story, right? So as we separate ourselves from our fellow man and everybody in our lives, as we just sit at home and suck down government-approved media, hopefully not shows like this, then, well, it's a grand separation on so many levels, right? And I guess that's the idea, for you to be completely hermetically sealed in your pod while you are sucking down the propaganda and not interacting with, right? Let's go down the list of things that you would normally interact with. The environment, nature, no, don't do that. Animals, no, don't touch or talk to the animals. They could give you Ebola or some other sort of major disease. Don't interact with animals in any meaningful way. Don't interact with humans. Don't interact with your environment. So what is even left? What is even left to interact with? I guess it really just is your phone and the media, CNN and all that kind of stuff. I think, is that the push? It just seems so dark. And it's I don't know, it's fascinating to me to see these same themes getting pulled up in an article where that really wasn't even my goal to be discussing this kind of stuff. So what is going on here? But I wanted to bounce this off another article that I found recently, right? This is from 4 hours ago in The Guardian. This seems to tell you the opposite. Climate worst case scenarios may not go far enough, cloud data shows. Looks like the models were being milquetoast. We are being too easy on us, right? Worst case global heating scenarios may need to be revised upwards in light of a better understanding of the role of clouds, scientists say. And it's always so funny to me. It's like they've been studying this for decades at this point. They know exactly the effect of solar radiation, clouds and trails and all that other fun stuff that they spray up in the sky. They wouldn't be doing all that spraying and manipulating that they're already doing, right? Very, very, I guess we're being edgy here. Oh my God, they're doing global climate engineering, and they've already been doing it for a while. I have the proof. Well, I guess sort of. It's more of a feeling. But I guess they're figuring this out. Oh, well, yeah, I guess, geez, that's how all these articles are always framed. Oh, geez, we didn't realize. Well, in all those models, I guess we should have put the clouds in. Jerry, how did you forget the clouds? We did all the mountains and the water and the people and all the other stuff. Why didn't you put the clouds in the model? Right? Seems a little disingenuous. Just saying. Personally, my personal thoughts. And I guess this brings us to the other high strangeness that I've been experiencing recently. Well, yeah, right. Fucking Jerry. Fuck Jerry. What's up, Grant? It's good to see you, dude. You must be up late or early. There's all sorts of high strangeness that's happening here, and I guess this is a perfect example. Now we're stuck here on this page, and my mouse has decided to completely give up and quit. I cannot move my cursor from this point. I cannot directly continue the show without my mouse. And yeah, it's a Bluetooth mouse, but I've been experiencing all sorts of strange things going on with my Bluetooth devices recently. I don't know how to explain this exactly. It's like inexplicable, basically. I guess I have a lot of computer kind of related things here in the house, but you expect them to work regularly, and they generally do work constantly, continuously. But and right, I'm willing to admit there's some confirmation bias in here. I may just be imagining things. That's always the chance. I want to leave that open there. But it seems as soon as I get involved in stuff that maybe I should be shying away from, right? And this is what I continuously feel in my life: the push and pull of the actual universe, the reality, pushing and pulling you towards these ideas in these right ways, and pushing you away from them. And right, I guess if you wanted to interrupt the flow of this show, you would definitely just turn my mouse off. So I'm going to go over to the trackpad. It's going to be a little awkward, but we're going to press on through because that's just the mode that we're in here. Okay, let's just right. So okay, so half of the world is fine. We didn't screw up half of the world, and that seems like pretty good odds. But let's bounce that off this. Compared to the last assessment in 2014, 25% of them show a sharp upward shift from 3C to 5C in climate sensitivity. The amount of warming projected from a doubling of atmospheric carbon dioxide from the pre-industrial levels. This has shocked many veterans observers because assumptions about climate sensitivity have been relatively unchanged since the 80s. This is a deep concern, says that dude, director of the Potsdam Institute for Climate Research. Climate sensitivity is the holy grail of climate science. It is the prime indicator of climate risk. For 40 years, it has been around 3C, and now we are suddenly starting to see big climate models on the best supercomputers showing things that could be worse than we thought. And I guess, I think it's just like with the virus models, right? What you can do is start out with a more simplified model, something that maybe doesn't factor in all those pesky things like clouds and all that. And if you were trying to trick people into moving in a certain direction, if you had an agenda, if you wanted people to think a certain thing, well, that's probably what I would do. You would release the models, simpler models that were it's still scary, but not exactly terrifying. And then just let that sink in, get that grade of people just all worked up about that idea, and then a couple years down the road, you would get those models better. You would add the clouds and you would add other stuff, knowing full well that this more real, better model, I guess you would say, of the situation is going to be more dire, is to gotta freak people out a little bit more, and I would lay those all out in a row, right? You would have the less scary ones starting first, and continuously add better stuff to that model until everybody's like, oh my God, it's all coming crashing down. There's literally nothing we can do except maybe give up all of our freedoms and just let the technocracy take care of it, because obviously we can't. And it's the same, I guess, with a lot of this thing. I love science. I love the idea of research and finding new information, of taking tests and then correcting those tests and pushing that all forward, right? If that really is the main idea, but just it's hard. It's hard because real goals, real ideas, real things that people want to strive towards, it's very easy to co-opt them and insert your own ideas about what's going on here. And then I guess you would read a news article about that, and put in all sorts of alarming quotes about, right? Incredibly alarming if it's right. If it's right. If it's right. That's my favorite part. And that's, I guess, not exactly stated enough that these are indeed just models. They aren't actual predictions. They're taking all of these elements, right? Clouds and aerosols and solar radiation and all that kind of stuff, and they're putting it into basically a video game, right? It's a supercomputer level video game, so it's pretty fucking sweet video game. But nevertheless, right? It still is just a computer model of our world. It's not our actual world. And yet they're going to use this info to change our behavior and just get us into the right zone that we're thinking. And that's I guess my point here is that these two articles coming out on the same day are I would say in direct opposition to each other. This is saying it's all good, bro. We're overreacting maybe a little bit. And this one is saying, oh my fucking God, the world is about to burn and there's almost nothing we could do to stop it. But at the same time, right, in this article, when you scroll down a little bit, it's coming out with the same mental push, that the same sense of urgency that we only have minutes to spare. We have to get on the same page here. Otherwise, we are going to screw up the rest of the world. And all of it ties into what we're living through now with the just basic human development and energy being completely just kneecapped. And if you're not part of some major institution or some, I guess, large research organization, there's a good chance that you're not doing your work. And even if you are doing your work, you're probably not doing your best work because you're distracted and confused. And well, where does that all come from? It's not like our world changed from one minute to the next, although it does seem like some weird things are going on in the sky, in the space, whatever you want to call it. Maybe the aliens are coming. Maybe it's all just a simulation. It's impossible to say, but it is important, I think, to realize that this sense of urgency, this impending doom feeling that we all have sort of deep in our hearts, that was manufactured. And it's manufactured one piece at a time. It comes from news articles like this. It comes from the TV shows and everything else that I guess I talk about on the show. Where do these deep-seated anxieties come from? Because they don't just appear randomly. They are created. And I guess that's sort of what we do on this show, is try to tear that apart. At the same time, right, that's sort of the climate situation. I wanted to rapid fire get into all of these different stories, right? So this was happening the other day, right? That there's all this newfound energy coming up to Juneteenth and what's going on. Now, honestly, I don't remember it being this vociferous in years past, but maybe I'm misremembering that. But now Juneteenth is this huge big deal, and right, this is the same kind of thing. I mean, I would be kind of disappointed if this wasn't manufactured, because that would just be kind of lazy. You see this coming. Okay, good. So we got race relations totally inflamed. Probably the highest inflammation we've ever seen about race relations, especially in America. Just next level shit. Now, if you had the resources, let's just say, for example, you have the resources of the U.S. government. You are the president of the United States. You're planning your rallies, you're making plans, and nobody tells you that you shouldn't do a rally, especially since you are sort of well known as the racist, fear-mongering sort of dog-whistling president. Say, for example, that's you. Okay, you're the T-man. You know this thing is coming up with this horrible, right? The race relations and everything that's going on. Okay, so well, maybe we should plan a rally on that day. Right? Said no one ever. I just, you gotta like give these people a little bit more credit. If that's your bread and butter, this is all they're doing all day long, every day. So, okay, what's going on with race relations? What's the fear level on the climate? How can we funnel that into the right direction where we feel like it needs to be? Okay. Well, Mr. Racist President, can we get you to schedule a rally on the most important African-American holiday that's been recently developed? Okay, do that. Get everybody pissed. And then, because this is how we see the turn of the tide. Maybe a year ago even, or before that, Trump might have just powered through and done the rally anyways, but we see his power waning these days. That's really another message that is happening. It seems like Biden is gaining and is going to have a great 4 years just touching a bunch of young girls and enjoying his life. I guess I'm not looking forward to that. That sounds super boring and gross. But I guess that may be on the horizon because, right, we see Mr. T-Man backing down. He's going to reschedule this rally out of respect because he totally gets it, right? Even the racist, the king racist of all the racist is realizing the situation and backing down. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say. This is how the reality is shaped. This is how those deep, dark fears that are built into your subconscious that you seemingly have no control over are created, one at a time, one experience at a time, one news story at a time. And right, but I don't know. Are you with me here? I cannot possibly believe that an entire, right, even though that's the whole image that they're bumbling and losers and this guy can't get his life together in any meaningful way. I cannot believe that. I think it's all highly coordinated and organized, and there's just too much at stake. Trillions and trillions of dollars. How would you leave that up to chance? How could you? That would be so irresponsible. If I was in charge of trillions of dollars and these were the type of things that were guiding that money, you would be so irresponsible to not plan stuff like this. So, right? And right in the middle of all of that is, and this is obviously Russian propaganda, which we shouldn't listen to. Fake. It's probably fake, but it's a crazy story nonetheless, right? Black man found hanged near City Hall in California in alleged suicide, but protesters suspect lynching and demand full probe. Here's a 24-year-old that was found dead hanging from a tree, which is like, yeah, next level. I'm curious to see where this story goes and whether they actually bring this out and then flame it more or bury it. I guess that's the choice that they have, but this seems tailor-made for the situation that's going down, and right, it all commingles and interrelates, and I guess that's the hard part to imagine anybody coordinating on purpose, because you do have to have all these different things happening in reality and then have those things intermingling. And there's, again, no way, just like with the climate, there's no way for us to know, is this real? Did this get staged? Did somebody actually hang themselves? If you did want to hang yourselves and you were colored, I mean, you would have to know the implications of something like that. And having it be near City Hall and then having these protesters getting all pissed about it, it all just, I don't know. It doesn't seem real. It feels like it's this next stage of reality where everything is just so way over the top and sort of jammed right up against each other that you don't even have time to fully process it. And especially when things really aren't making sense or fully contradicting each other, there's a big herd mentality encouragement to just sort of push past that and grab the idea or the story or whatever it is to use as a banner to bring you further along in that cause that you thought you wanted, right? Where in reality, a lot of people are promoting things and doing actions and working hard on things that are actually in a direct opposition to the things that they really want, right? But that's, I guess, sort of the magic trick that we're living through these days. How can you convince people to vociferously shout and yell from the rooftops for change and for ideas that are hurting them, that are literally the opposite of what they want? How can you get people to do that? And I think, that's all we're talking about today. Is like, how do you bend reality into your personal form? How could you take literally any news story and insert COVID and that whole agenda into it. Well, we've seen it done today, folks. You don't need the story to make sense. It can even be in direct opposition to what you want to promote. But if you've done your magic right, if you laid the groundwork in the proper way, then it does not matter. You can tell people lies. You can lie to their face. You can get them to start lying to other people on purpose, as long as you do your magic trick right. And I guess that's sort of what I'm saying. This is also sensitive that I wouldn't leave it up to chance. If I was running this game, I would not leave it up to chance. There's just too much at stake. And they have too much data. They got all that AI-driven collection on all of us, so they know how to make it all work. And I guess just as our final story here, for things just going off the deep end in reality, bending over on itself to generate some new dimension, I think this story is a really good example. From TechCrunch and other people, forget the casino. Bankrupt Hertz can now sell up to $1 billion in stock. All right, so Hertz definitely went bankrupt. They filed for bankruptcy. And everybody is sort of tripped out on this crazy thing that they've been able to do. They're bankrupt. They have no money, but they've been somehow, and I think I with the stock stuff, I trust TechCrunch a little bit less than I trust Zero Hedge, even though their tone can be a little edgy. I guess tone is everything. On Monday, when the market hit its absolute blow-off top phase, and Robinhood sent the stock of bankrupt Hertz as high as $6, reporting in this higher market cap. Gotta read this quote. "We hope the company sells a few $100 million worth of stock. After all, there is apparently endless demand for its shares, just so we can test the so-called price discovery of Powell's latest and greatest FOMO bubble." And that's what they did. They went into court and they were like, can't we make an initial bankruptcy offering? It's like an initial stock offering, right? Except they're offering their bankruptcy. And I'm not going to pretend that I understand all the intricacies of how they made this work, but they were able to sell, right, like a short or derivative or some sort of weird version of stock that is selling their bankruptcy, and they were able to make $1 billion off of that. And if you saw this coming and you understood the markets and all that kind of fun stuff, then you would also be able to profit off this company filing for bankruptcy. Which, I mean, the stock world has already been pretty bizarre for quite some time, but I'd say that's some next level shit, dog. Some seriously next level shit. All right, I'm gonna bounce out. I'm gonna bounce out of here. It's always good to see you guys, even when it's just Grant Harper. I mean, Grant Harper, you are the homie. It's really dudes like you and Kim Adams and everybody else that just, I don't know, you guys won't let me stop, and I appreciate that encouragement, that support. It's literally the opposite energy of what's flowing around in the world these days. Everything just seems like they want you to shut the fuck up. Can you just shut the fuck up? I don't want to hear from you. I don't want you to think. I just want you to suck down what I'm giving you. And if you don't like it, well, too bad, because then I guess we're just going to send you to jail. And it may not be real jail. It may just be thought jail, Facebook jail, YouTube jail. But if you're not towing the party line, if you're not doing what I'm saying, then, right, I don't want to be friends with you. But that's not how reality works. That's not how people work. And I think once people get released from the horrendous, just punishing, brain melting nonsense, right? When you step outside of that, at least even for 1 second, you realize, no, I don't hate you. I want to help you. Do you need help lifting? Can I carry some stuff for you? Let's like paint your wall or something, right? Let me get some groceries for you. whatever it is, let's work together. Let's figure this out. Let's build something new. And I think once you step out of that mind, with that brain chaos, then you get back into it. So, I mean, I guess you are here on YouTube. I spend so much of my time sucking down media, but I question, is that the right move? Is that good for me? I don't think it is. It's good at wasting time. But at the same time, everybody else is soaking in this media, and I think the only way to inoculate yourself, to protect yourself from the fear and the anxiety and the dread and our planet is going to end because I just watched the 1000th episode based on post-apocalypse culture. When you're feeling that feeling, well, it's time to step out. And I guess, yeah, that's why I keep coming back. I keep coming back to talk about it. And I hope you will share this message with whoever is willing to listen, even if they're not. And hopefully you can think of your own sort of stealth ways of communicating with the brainwashed out there. And don't call them brainwashed. That's, I think, the first step is to treat those people that are completely brainwashed like actual people, and don't just start talking about chemtrails right away. That's gonna weird people out. Don't bring up the chemtrails. All right. Later, dogs. I'm gonna go see why the fuck my mouse isn't working, and who could possibly be fucking with my Bluetooth. Who are you?
Maybe I just need to